Welcome in, everyone, to Crimson Live on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. This is Roger Hoover, and it's great to have you join us once again for another great conversation from the college football world. And Crimson Live is always presented by Alabama One Credit Union. They've been voted Tuscaloosa's best credit union and best mortgage lender. Alabama One, a proud supporter of Crimson Tide Athletics. Today, we go to the SEC Network headquarters and visit with Peter Burns, one of their great hosts who joins us over Skype. And Peter, it's great to talk to you, and I know this is another one of those days where if you're covering college football, your head has to be on a swivel.
Yeah, I mean, again, I keep telling myself I need to stop being on social media so much. So I close the Twitter app and then I open it up and I go, well, what did I miss? And then I close it and then it's the same thing. It's a rabbit hole. And each and every day I feel like, Roger, it feels like it's been a 30 for 30 happening every single day about what's going on. And nothing surprises me as we kind of tiptoe closer and closer, 25 days away from hopefully the start of the season. And it's unlike anything I've ever covered, and I'm sure you're in the same boat yourself.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, LSU is a team that's on Alabama's schedule, is one of Alabama's only 2 losses last year. And we knew coming into this year, the Tigers would be losing a lot from their national championship team, but now they could potentially be losing even more. What can you tell us about what's going on in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, think about it. When LSU beat Clemson in a national title game, I'm watching them warm up, and there's 22 guys that started. Only 5 of them are back. I mean, listen, you go back and look at when Bama's won titles, even when LSU won titles, typically you're going to lose a lot of guys to the draft and whatnot. But you might bring back 11, 12 starters or whatnot. But to only have 5 left is out of control. Then you combine that with not having Dave Aranda, who's now the head coach over at Baylor. You combine that with not having Joe Brady, who was the passing game coordinator that led to that great offense. Now he's the OC at Charlotte for the Panthers here. It's absolutely crazy. And again, in a weird way, we talked about this on my SiriusXM show with Chris Doering this morning, is that I always felt going into the season there was a ton of pressure on Orgeron to live up to that Alabama standard, right? That it's not a kind of rebuild, it's now just a reload. Like, are you on the same level of what Coach Saban has built in Tuscaloosa? And in a weird way, this almost takes a little pressure off of him, because now everyone looks at it and goes, well, I mean, who in the world would be able to play, and have a great season when you're only playing 10 games? It's going to be all good on good. There's no cupcakes, and you only got a couple of guys returning. So it's something that all these schools are dealing with right now, and it's not just LSU that's having to deal with it. And I think there might be 1 or 2 more kids that decide to opt out this season from what Ed Orgeron kind of said today.
So the opting out news is certainly big coming from Baton Rouge, but the SEC, also the buzz today about the schedule. We've known the schedule for a little bit, but now we're starting to know some TV assignments. Just how excited are you for games that we know now will be on your network, plus ESPN, plus CBS? It's exciting to see that in print.
Yeah, I mean, because it's tangible, right? We can put it on every single time. There's a little bit of leak of more and more information. When we saw the ESPN and the CBS games, the first thing I look to is LSU Bama, right? Again, I'm going to show you a little bit of my room here. I've got my LSU helmet, and I've got UTSA. That's where I played college golf. But over here, you can see that's an Alabama helmet because I married an Alabama girl, and all of my Mike Tyson Punch-Out characters up here in the wall. But
very nice.
So that's what leads me to first thinking about wins LSU Alabama, because that's been the game. And to think that it's a couple things. One, is going to come on the same day as the 3rd round of the Masters. As a golf fan, I love that because I'm going to be tuned in all day long to it. No offense, ESPN, my employer. I'm going to watch a lot of CBS that day. But it's a different start time, too. It's a 5 p.m. start time, which means there'll be early tee times in Augusta because of the way the sun's going to be setting a little bit lower. And Jim Nance is literally going to kick it from the end of the 3rd round to the start of the kickoff for Alabama LSU, hopefully. So I think that'll be cool. So, I was surprised a little, not surprised I'd say that Mississippi State LSU was going to be leading off. It's Mike Leach versus defending national champions. So CBS always gets the first draft pick. But I was surprised and happy for me because I host the noon kickoff in the pregame and postgame show, is the fact that we're going to have Kentucky Auburn on SEC Network right off the bat, which I think is going to be an incredible matchup because I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Kentucky Wildcats this upcoming season.
Sticking with television, how excited were you to watch a game in Montgomery, Alabama over this weekend between Austin Peay and Central Arkansas? And then kind of in a broad sense, what's the challenge for your company about airing games coming up this fall?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like just opening up Twitter and seeing like that social media sports bar of everybody having a funny joke or ripping a decision from a coach. I'm like, finally some normalcy in college football. And again, I think it showed over the last 6 months. We've been talking about things in a vacuum, like what we should do, and here's the best protocols, and here's what we're conceptually thinking about. But this was tangible. This was real. This was football being played, and it wasn't by big market or budget teams. It wasn't, the Alabamas of the world that have a lot of money to do testing. It was Austin Peay and Central Arkansas, and they were able to play. It wasn't the best product ever, but it felt like, okay, this can be done. I think it was important that you took that first step and then realized, okay, how can this start working? And so far it's good. For us, for ESPN, I know that we just want to get back to work. I speak for everybody over here, and right now is that, these last 5-6 months of dental, it's just been, kind of tugging at the heartstrings, like, man, like, is there going to be a college football season? We know the fans want it. We want it. And the fact that, we were able to put it on air, even though announcers were back in Bristol and not necessarily at the game, I think that's going to be a small change that you're going to see coming up this upcoming season a little bit.
And for you on the SEC Network, now you have a former Alabama guy as a teammate. What can you tell us about Roman Harper and what he's going to bring to the SEC Network?
Well, Roman texted me a couple of days ago at like 10 o'clock. I'm like, what in the world is Roman Harper texting me? It was about Call of Duty. He wanted to play Call of Duty. So he's going to fit in real well because me and Marcus Spears always play Xbox late at night when the kids go to bed. We're still little kids. But Roman's great, man, because he gives a great insight from a collegiate level. But he's just real and he cuts through. We almost kind of went to blows a couple of days ago in our first show together. Because this was before all the Jamar Chase and all the news about LSU players opting out. He said, I'm not sold on LSU. I think they're going to be, they're really going to struggle this year. So I like that in the fact that he had a strong opinion, because it's easy for the college, these athletes to come back and they just kind of hee-haw, go back and forth and seesaw their opinions. But for him to hit the ground running, I thought was great. And it's always good to have somebody that played in the league long enough to know the difference between, hey, here's how it is in the collegiate level, especially for Alabama guys. Hey, here's what they're trying to achieve and get to the NFL level. And he's going to be fun, and I'm sure we're going to probably get in trouble by the suits for having too much fun on air sooner and later. So,
well, we'll look forward to that, and we'll let you out on this. So what do you feel like about this Alabama team heading into the 2020 season?
Yeah, it's interesting whenever we heard the news a couple of days ago of Bryce Young not being a part of the scrimmage, but then returning. And I was carefully listening to what Coach Saban was talking about Mac Jones, and I didn't hear him say "ite" once. And if you follow college football as you do in Alabama football, like anytime you hear Coach Saban say "ite," that means it's a kind of a touchy subject, and he's pretty passionate about it. So when he was talking about Mac Jones and the 3 touchdowns, and that signified to me that he's very comfortable of what Mac is doing and how he can run this offense, and I think that's great. But it's the other side of the ball that just was un-Bama like last year. And I think now getting Dylan Moses back is just an absolute game changer. And again, I think that's the important thing, because that adds its soul. Nick Saban is a defensive-minded coach. And I think this is going to be a very defensive-minded year that Alabama, and I know it's just cliche, but Alabama and Georgia, I think, have 2 best defenses maybe in the country right now. And I think that's why everyone's picking them to meet, hopefully in Atlanta, with a season that goes by easily.
Well, we'd certainly love to see that, and we know we got to let you go, but just thank you for your time, Peter, and hopefully we can catch up with you again.
Hey, let's do this a lot more often, especially during the season, when because we all kind of need to hold our hands and make sure that we're doing the right things for college football this season. So I appreciate the invite.
All right, thanks to Peter Burns of the SEC Network and ESPN, and thank you for watching the Crimson Tide Sports Network.